Thank you, folks, for being here. I'm Matt Steinmetz. I'm the Senior Vice President of Events for Adweek. So happy to see all these folks with us here in beautiful LA. And thank you to all of our virtual attendees tuning in remotely. We appreciate you guys being here with us as well. So really excited about this next session, which was created alongside our great partners at Mountain, whose support we, of course, greatly appreciate. We're going to take a look at what streaming networks need to prioritize for their advertisers. Clearly, the CTV landscape is arguably undergoing its biggest shakeup ever. By early next year, every major streaming service is expected to be offering ads, which should forever change how viewers, publishers, and brands think about streaming. So now that every service is joining that gold rush to build a more advertising-friendly model, there's a lot of questions, right? Who's going to emerge as a winner? What should an ad-supported solution look like? And how do brands navigate legacy platforms, pivoting from an anti-ad attitude to a pro-ad model? So again, I want to thank our friends at Mountain for making this session possible. We're really lucky today to be joined by Mark Douglas, who is President and CEO of Mountain. He's going to provide some really unique perspective and insights sourced from years of building the leading performance TV platform. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Welcome. Let's get to everyone here also.
Let's get into it. We are going to take questions from the audience, guys. So Mark and I are going to cover a lot of ground over 20 minutes, but we'd love to take questions from you as well. So we'll have some mic runners. So Mark, as the CEO of a CTV marketing services company, since really practically the beginning, right, of the ad-supported streaming business, what are your thoughts on the model and its rise to prominence? And really, was this always an inevitability?
In terms of ad-supported? Yeah, I think it is. And the reason is that consumers love content. We all do love entertainment content, and we love it at the lowest price. I actually had a very interesting experience this weekend. I met, I don't want to name a name, but I met the CEO of a very large cable provider. And even he complained about the prices of cable. Really? Yeah, he was literally telling me, cable is really expensive. Which I thought was crazy, but it's because you had to include every TV network in one bundle. Yeah. And now with on-demand programming and things like that, consumers get what they want, and they get it at a price point they want. And so I think AVOD just absolutely contributes to that, and we're seeing everybody is now doing essentially doing ad-supported.
So as more CTV ad-supported solutions come online and they start to build out their offerings for advertisers, what are some potentially hidden opportunities that may not be top of mind for those streaming services?
Yeah, I mean, I think the business model, Netflix and to some extent Hulu led the innovation. Like the relationship between the consumer and the content provider TV network has been completely transformed from this, like, we broadcast to you get anything you want at any time you want to on demand. But the relationship between the advertiser and the TV network has remained largely the same, which is this very upfront model, this very expensive model. And so there's just this huge opportunity to innovate that relationship the same way the relationship with the consumer has been innovated. And I think any company pursuing connected TV, including the TV networks and the ad tech companies, they should be thinking in terms of, like, how do we change that business model, which has been in place for half a century, essentially 50 years, how we change that. That's what Mountain is doing. I think there's opportunity for everyone to really rethink that model. And you're starting to see even the TV networks do that.
Good segue to my next question. Yeah. So if an advertiser wants to run on streaming TV, they have a lot of options now, right? Are all those options weighted equally? I suspect not. Are there specific features or considerations that are more valuable than others and that advertisers should have their eye on?
Yeah, I mean, I think the show, the idea that I need to be on this show and the hot show, that is changing. It's changing because of data. You're not really, you shouldn't really be focused on what's being watched. You should be focused on who's watching, and what's being watched was a proxy for who's watching. But now we have data to just say, this is a consumer I'm trying to reach, regardless of what show or network they're watching. And the business model, I think a lot of media buyers haven't yet fully caught up to that, but I think that's transformation is underway, and it's going to have a really big impact on, things like upfronts and the whole business model around TV, like we're just talking about.
So, clearly it's always good to listen to the market and respond to the market. What have you been hearing from your customers and other advertisers? Like, what are they looking to achieve with CTV advertising, and what should we be looking out for now and in the future to help them accomplish those goals?
Yeah, I mean, Mountain's customer, I think, is a bit different from the rest of the CTV industry. Approximately 2/3 of our customers is their first time advertising on television. So we've literally expanded the market for TV advertising, and we're bringing on a lot of companies, bringing them into the television market for the first time. And so, the reason for that is they want data. They're used to like Google AdWords. They're used to Meta's ad platform, and they're used to now Amazon's ad platform for their business. And they will only participate in this market if they have the ability to target and they have data to measure what's happening. So, reach is kind of on its way out, and targeted, measurable performance it's on its way in, and you're just seeing a lot of companies come into the market as a result, and that's our primary focus, and I think it's going to hopefully be the focus of the whole market as we go forward.
Yeah. You talk about your focus. Mountain's marketing software really puts an emphasis on performance marketing, right?
Yeah.
Which, of course, runs counter to traditional, TV advertising, which has generally been more about brand awareness. How have advertisers responded to this approach?
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing companies that didn't really access TV before, like e-commerce companies, come in the market, even travel brands that you saw on TV before, like someone like a United Airlines. Even those, at the end of the day, folks think of United as like, oh, that's a typical brand advertiser, fly the friendly skies. They're selling airline tickets.
Yeah.
And they're selling them all online. They're not like, no one's picking up the phone to buy them or going into a store. So you're seeing, I think, all of these advertisers, whether they be small emerging companies or even big ones, start to adapt their behavior. And that's that long tail that you see in performance marketing, the hundreds of thousands, even millions of companies that leverage paid social and paid search coming into the TV market as a result. I think it's pretty transformational. I think some networks are still adapting because everyone has the word premium in their minds. But I think they're adapting to, wow, I can help emerging companies now become those big companies by making this channel so much more accessible.
So obviously performance marketing being a possibility.
It's a very squeaky chair I'm sitting on. Am I the only one noticing that?
Yeah, you got the short straw. Performance marketing being a possibility on TV is a big deal, right? That's why we're here. Do you foresee performance TV becoming a more common approach for solutions throughout the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything we just talked about. Yeah. I think that's without a doubt. It's merely a matter. There are two things that have to happen. One is obviously awareness, just the marketers becoming aware that this channel that really was, if you think of all the things that are considered normal on TV, like upfronts, and really expensive creative. If you look at like our acquisition of Maximum Effort, and we acquired another company, QuickFrame, it's all about making the ad itself more accessible, lowering the cost, lowering the time, because you can't have this channel that like everyone can use this now, but to create an ad costs $500,000, right? Yeah. So we kind of took on both of those, but all of that is now more accessible. And I think it's it's an exciting time. I think for the last few years, people say it's golden age of television. There's more content than there's ever been before, and to a certain extent, we're starting the golden age of television advertising. Hopefully, the entertainment consumers agree with that. But and with the growth of AVOD, and now essentially every content provider is signing on for ad-supported programming.
Right. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Maybe it's not a fair question, but you're here and you have tremendous perspective as you look out the market. Who do you see among the current players right now in the market coming out on top? I mean, there's a lot of talk about ultimately some consolidation. So who do you see winning?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting state of things. To a certain extent, I think it's whoever wants it most. Some of the TV networks, I think, are very focused on growth. So if you look at the brand advertising market, like from a financial perspective, the growth rate is 0.3% a year. Mm-hmm. So that's a relatively small number of very large companies who are not generally increasing their budgets account for all of the spend. And so now you have new advertisers coming to market. Whoever is focused on growth, I think stands and they have to adapt the business model, adapt the partnerships they have, stands a very good chance. Obviously, Netflix accounts for a lot of viewing. I think it's still not clear to everyone how big they want their AVOD business to be. Amazon, I think, is in a really interesting place. People forget they have, to my knowledge, the world's third largest advertising business, definitely third largest among performance, and they have a huge television business. They haven't fully married those two together, but if they do, I think they stand to do really well. Yeah. So it's still a toss-up. I really like NBC and Comcast. I think they're very focused on growth. They're doing, and as part of Comcast, they have a lot of money
resources.
We call resource. They have a lot of cash. Yeah. So I think and the desire for growth. So that's that it's it's really interesting to see big networks start to morph in the growth companies.
Yeah. With this next question, I want to get practical here, and this is something we hear from our audience a lot. Brands who say, "Look, CTV sounds really exciting, but my brand still has the same problem we do with linear TV, which is a lack of budget for production costs."
Yeah.
What's your advice? Is there a way to get into TV advertising without existing creative?
Well, I think you can use existing creative. So this is kind of the crazy thing. If you wanted to advertise, let's say on TikTok right now, the cost of building that commercial for TikTok is not, you're not going to spend, $250,000. And so there's this built-in belief that creative should be expensive. Mm-hmm. If it's for TV, it needs to cost a lot. I think it definitely has to fit the form factor, but you can get it produced pretty cost effectively. I mean, obviously Mountain is definitely a proponent of that. That's what Quick Frame, which a division of Mountain is all about, is lowering the cost and increasing the velocity of creative. Also, you don't have to have the perfect commercial. It's better to be putting out creative, every other month, every 3 months, than it is to have that one commercial that just nails it and iterate. And you'll find that one that nails it if the velocity is high, if you just have a lot of activity around it. But the cost can be a lot lower, and I think everyone should be expecting that.
Okay, good advice.
Yeah.
So as more marketers move to a performance marketing approach, what are some success strategies that you'd suggest that their teams keep top of mind?
It's whatever you're used to in performance marketing. Clear goal, clear call to action. Yep. The little things like in the creative, watermark the URL of your brand, of wherever you want them to go, your website or name of the mobile app. Just all of those basic techniques used for on paid social, you should be doing the same on television also. Even if it's a brand campaign, you should be doing that.
Okay. I'm curious if there are specific industries or markets that you guys have seen as real surprise success stories with CTV. And in second part of the question, are there still some untapped industries that you guys have your eye on that you think have some upside?
No, I wouldn't say there's any surprises. Okay. I think there's a snowball effect happening now. The rate at which companies are discovering, wow, my company television is a very powerful medium, and the rate at which companies are discovering that's not now accessible, I think is really changing. I think in just a couple of years, there will be more performance marketers on television than there will be brand marketers. The brand budgets, I think, will still be larger for quite a while, but the the diversity in terms of number of companies using television as a medium to reach consumers, I think that is going to go upside down, like probably even as early as the next 12 months.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
One or two more for me, and then I'd love to take some questions from the audience. You talked about needing the right attribution to make performance marketing work on CTV. So get specific, like what does that look like?
Well, attribution is really simple. If you run a brand campaign, what makes a brand campaign is your focus is reach and frequency. What marks a performance campaign is you want to measure revenue from the campaign. All performance marketers, and literally all, measure return on ad spend, like dollars spent against revenue produced. And so any platform you're using, if that's what your focus is, it just has to have those capabilities. And it's surprising that more TV platforms don't have that yet, but that's a core of what one of the core capabilities we provide. And that, again, I think even brand advertisers will start to demand that in some way going forward.
I feel like we've covered a lot of ground in a little bit of time. Is there anything that we haven't hit on that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think we covered a lot.
You mentioned the partnership with Maximum Effort.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds' company.
Yeah.
Is he better looking or funnier?
Well, that's a tough. I was gonna say he's definitely funnier, but he's a very good-looking man, also. So,
Mark and I were talking backstage.
I've been on camera with him a number of times. And I'm like, how am I holding up there? He's insanely quick-witted. It's almost an unfair advantage how quick-witted he is.
Highly recommend his soccer documentary about the club that he and Rob McElhenney purchased a year and a half or 2 years ago. Welcome to Wrexham FC, which is I think Hulu.
Yeah, it's a great show. I think it's number one.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's been doing great.
They do a great job. All right, well, we're going to open it up to questions from the audience. Before we do, I'd love, Mark, for you to take us through your key takeaways from the session.
Yeah, I would try to if they weren't like 5 inches tall. Here we go. All right, so, I know these. So basically, performance is important. That's the number one takeaway. Especially if you're an agency, if you're like performance advertisers are eager to get on television, I think it's a growth opportunity, not only for Mountain, but for a lot of agencies and obviously for the marketers themselves. Every brand can access it. That's number two. I mean, if TV seemed like this channel was expensive, unapproachable, you should try it. It's the thing we found out from the day we launched our platform, that it's a really powerful channel. We were kind of astounded how well it performed right from the start. And, TV now is right up there with paid search, paid social as a medium that, every marketer should be looking to have in their tool bag.
Excellent. Great advice. All right, folks, let's take some questions. Looks like we have one back here.
If you talk to CMOs today, a lot of them will say that their performance marketing is actually driven by their brand marketing as well. So how do you recommend or balance those two things? Because, clearly there's opportunities to measure it immediately, but I think they will say, a number of them will say that a lot of their performance success is based on how well they do brand marketing. So how do you advise on that balance?
Yeah, I think both are important. And I agree with that. I mean, the Mountain's a beneficiary of that because we do have the Maximum Effort team doing our own marketing. And so we're doing a lot of performance marketing. We use our own platform. It's the number 2 channel for us. But the number 1 channel for us, for our own marketing, is organic search. And that's clearly a result of all the brand marketing that the Maximum Effort team is doing around the Mountain brand. There's definitely, when we talk to customers, there's often a discussion of the halo effect of television. So this is what we can measure in terms of the benefit, but there's somewhat of an unmeasurable halo effect that's brought to the brand. So I agree with you completely. I mean, that's the beauty of TV. You don't get that on social. This you don't get as much of a brand effect on social, and certainly not paid search, as you can get with television, using it as a performance channel and a brand channel.
Let's take a question from the virtual audience. Thank you to Jack Wagner, who asks, what types of interactive performance ad units do you see being used cross-channel? What types of engagement are you seeing?
Well, we do, from Mountain, we do cross-channel marketing. So everything starts with a TV ad, and then we automatically extend the ad to other channels to create that kind of cross-device effect, and also, get the consumer across their entire journey. So it's more like how many channels you're using. We think all of them perform better. Even display, which traditionally is viewed as not the highest performing channel, performs much better when the person sees a brand on a big screen. So we say everything starts on a big screen and then extends to a small screen. And so that would be more video units, that's display, that's mobile ads, and what type of engagement. We typically see engagement that's on par with like non-branded search. Meaning like you're not typing the company's name in, you're doing a search, or similar to paid social. So I've mentioned a number of times, TV is a pretty powerful channel.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you for your time today and for powering through the squeaky chair.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
And